My sister slapped my baby at Christmas dinner, said I was overreacting. Everyone just sat there, but then my military commander husband stood up, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Get out." She never came back. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here we are. So, last Christmas, my husband and I hosted dinner at our house. We wanted it to be special, our baby's first Christmas, a milestone I'd been dreaming about since I found out I was pregnant. We had the tree up, twinkling lights, food that took me 2 days to prepare, and a table long enough to squeeze in family that doesn't even usually talk to each other. My sister was one of those people. She's complicated. Always been the type who thrives on attention, no matter if it's good or bad. For as long as I can remember, she's had this simmering jealousy toward me. I got married before she did, I had a baby before she even got serious with anyone, and she's the kind of person who takes that personally. Still, I invited her, because that's what family's supposed to do, right? Everything was going fine at first. People were laughing, eating, passing around wine, and my baby, who's only 9 months old, was getting passed from lap to lap like the little Christmas miracle she is. She's at that adorable age where she's giggly and reaching for faces. Then she landed in my sister's arms. At first, I thought, hey, maybe this will be a sweet bonding moment. Maybe she'll finally soften up. But nope. My baby tugged gently on her hair and gave one of those gummy baby laughs. My sister's face changed instantly, like a switch flipped. And before I could even react, she slapped my baby's hand. Hard. Not playful. Not discipline. An actual slap. The sound it made turned my stomach. My baby's face crumpled, and she started screaming in that heart-wrenching way only babies can. I froze. For a second, I couldn't even process it. My sister just scoffed and said, "Oh please, you're overreacting." She needs to learn boundaries. Boundaries. For a baby who still eats mashed peas and can't even walk yet. What got me wasn't just the slap, it was the silence. The entire table just sat there. Forks paused midair. Glasses still in hand. Nobody said anything. My dad coughed like he wanted to break the tension, my mom looked away, and I was just shaking. Then my husband stood up. For context, my husband's a military commander. He's calm, controlled, not the kind of guy who raises his voice or gets dramatic. But when he stood up, the room shifted. He didn't yell. He didn't rant. He just looked my sister dead in the eye and said, "Get out." That was it. 2 words, sharp enough to cut through stone. My sister tried to laugh it off, tried to argue, but the way he stood there, straight-backed, hands steady, eyes locked, made it clear he wasn't budging. She sputtered, rolled her eyes, muttered something about everyone being too sensitive, and then stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Nobody stopped her. Nobody defended her. And she never came back. The rest of dinner was awkward. My mom tried to act like nothing had happened. My dad suddenly had a lot to say about football, and I just sat there, holding my baby close, wondering how in the world things had gone from Christmas joy to this. And the wild part? That wasn't even the end of it. You'd think that after my sister slapped a literal baby and got kicked out, everyone would be on the same page. She was way out of line, good riddance. Right? Wrong. The next morning, my phone blew up. First a text from my mom. She didn't mean it. She was stressed. You shouldn't have let husband's name humiliate her like that in front of everyone. Humiliate her? She slapped my baby, my 9-month-old. But according to my mom, I was overreacting and my husband took things too far. Then my dad called. His version was, "You know how your sister is. She has a temper, but family is family. You can't just cut her off over one mistake." One mistake. I had to bite my tongue from screaming into the phone. It wasn't a spilled drink, Dad. It was a grown woman hitting an infant. Meanwhile, my sister had already started her side of the story. On Facebook, she posted some vague nonsense about being attacked on Christmas for trying to teach basic discipline, and how she felt unsafe in her own family. The comments section was full of her friends chiming in with "so sorry, you deserve better," and "some people just don't get it." Not a single word about the fact that she slapped a baby. My baby? My husband was furious, but in his very military, very controlled way. He told me, "We protect our own." She put her hands on our child. That's a line she doesn't come back from. He wasn't budging. Not even a little. And honestly, that steadiness kept me from falling apart. But my parents wouldn't let it go. They kept pushing for me to apologize for the sake of family peace. They wanted me to invite her back, give her another chance. My mom even suggested maybe I shouldn't leave the baby with her until she's older, as if there would ever be a day I'd hand my child over to someone who thought hitting a baby was fine. Here's the kicker. Some relatives started taking her side. An aunt actually called to tell me I was too sensitive and that back in her day, babies got smacked all the time. Like it was some kind of nostalgic parenting tradition. That was the moment I realized something. This wasn't just about my sister. It was about a family that had normalized her behavior for years. The tantrums, the drama, the selfishness, it had always been brushed aside because that's just how she is. And now they expected me to do the same when it was my child on the receiving end. Not happening. So, we drew a line. My husband and I agreed, if my sister was invited somewhere, we weren't going. If she showed up, we'd leave. And if anyone wanted to play mediator, they could go ahead, but we weren't budging. Christmas had ended with a slammed door. New Year's was going to begin with a divided family. And the cracks were only starting to show. January rolled around, and the drama didn't die down like I hoped. If anything, it got worse. About a week after Christmas, my parents decided to surprise visit. Which, in my family, usually means they wanted to confront me in person since I wasn't giving them the answer they wanted over the phone. Sure enough, they showed up at our door with grocery bags, like they were just dropping by to help with the baby. But within 10 minutes, my mom started in. Honey, your sister feels awful. She told me she hasn't slept since Christmas. You don't understand how much your husband embarrassed her. I cut her off. She slapped my baby, Mom. I don't care about her feelings. My dad jumped in with the classic, she's family. She's your blood. Don't you think your daughter deserves to know her aunt? That one actually made me laugh. Bitterly. My daughter deserves safety. If you think family means letting someone hurt her and call it discipline, then maybe she doesn't need that kind of family. The room went dead quiet. Then my husband, who had been silently watching this whole exchange with his arms crossed, finally spoke. Calm, steady, but with that edge in his voice that makes people listen. He said, "This isn't negotiable." She laid hands on our child. "If you can't respect the boundary we've set, you're part of the problem." My mom's eyes welled up like he'd just betrayed the entire family bloodline, and my dad muttered something about overreacting millennials. They left soon after, all huffy, saying things like, "Fine, but don't come crying when you regret this." Regret what? Protecting my baby? Of course, my sister didn't stay quiet. She doubled down on her little Facebook narrative. By mid-January, she had spun the story where I was the villain and ungrateful brat who let my controlling husband kick her out on Christmas for no reason. Some cousins lapped it up and stopped talking to me. One even sent me a DM saying, "Blood is blood. You're going to regret choosing a man over your sister." A man? He's my husband. The father of my child. The one who actually protected his family when everyone else sat there in silence. That was when the shift happened in me. For so long, I'd put up with my family's nonsense because I didn't want to be the problem. But watching everyone rush to defend the person who slapped my baby and then turn on me for not forgiving her snapped something inside me. I realized my husband and I weren't overreacting. We were the only sane people in the room. So, we stopped answering calls for a while. We unfriended and blocked the cousins who were stirring the pot. And for the first time, I started to feel lighter. Angry, hurt, but lighter. Because the truth was clear, if standing up for my baby meant burning bridges, then let them burn. But here's the kicker. Just when I thought things had finally gone quiet, my sister decided to make one last attempt to shove her way back in. And this time, she didn't come alone. It happened in February. A random Sunday afternoon. My husband was on leave. We were in full lazy day mode, baby in pajamas, football on the TV, leftovers in the oven. Peaceful. Then there was a knock on the door. I looked through the peephole and felt my stomach drop. My sister. Standing there with my parents on either side of her, like they'd formed some kind of intervention squad. My husband gave me a look, one of those wordless exchanges we've gotten good at since the baby was born. He didn't even hesitate. He walked straight to the door, opened it just enough to block their view inside, and said flatly, "What do you want?" My mom jumped in first. "We're here to talk, that's all." She came to apologize. Except my sister didn't look apologetic. Arms crossed, chin high, glaring past my husband like she was ready for a fight. And sure enough, the second my husband stepped aside to let them speak their piece, she started. "I don't know why everyone is acting like I'm a monster. It was just a slap on the hand. That's how discipline works. You're turning everyone against me over nothing. Nothing. I was holding my daughter when she said that. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. My baby was gnawing happily on a teething toy, completely unaware that the woman in front of me had once made her cry so hard she choked on her own breath. My husband stepped between us again before I could even open my mouth. His voice was low, steady, the same tone he uses when he's commanding a room full of soldiers. You're not welcome here. You don't get access to my wife. You don't get access to my child. You made your choice. Leave. My dad tried to protest, sputtering about forgiveness and blood ties, but my husband didn't budge. He didn't yell. He didn't explain. He just repeated, louder this time. Leave. Now. And here's the thing, it worked. There was something in the way he stood, something unshakable, that shut everyone up. My sister's face went red. She muttered something about us being brainwashed, and then she stormed off the porch. My parents scrambled after her, my mom crying, my dad grumbling. And, just like that, the door shut. The silence afterward was heavy, but not the bad kind. It was the kind that comes when something finally ends. My husband wrapped his arms around me, kissed the top of my head, and said, "She's never coming near us again." That's final. And he was right. She hasn't tried since. Some relatives still think I overreacted. Some don't talk to me anymore. But the funny thing is, my life feels calmer, lighter, safer. Because the people who think hitting a baby is no big deal don't get a seat at my table anymore. This Christmas, it'll just be us, me, my husband, and our daughter. And honestly, that sounds perfect. If this story kept you hooked, give it a like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more.